Good afternoon, everyone. Today I'll be presenting on the article titled, "The Global Chip Shortage is Here for Some Time." The agenda and rundown of presentation will be as such, starting with a summary of key points mentioned in the article, followed by breaking down some key concepts to allow us to understand the article a bit better, and lastly, the outlook for the chip industry. So there are three key pointers here within the article. First, being that there are many industries actually facing production constraints due to the microchip shortage. So the industries we're talking at are your car makers, your general appliances, which involve your smart fridges and other forms of general appliances, and also your high-tech companies supplying various technology and capabilities such as your data centers. Second pointer would be that there are many powerhouse economies, such as your USA and Germany, expressing many concerns. And they actually lobbied to the Taiwanese government, who is known for its powerhouse, and the company known as TSMC for its chip making capabilities. The last point is that the chip makers themselves are affected by both demand and supply side factors, which ultimately are causing the low output relative to the demand. So you might ask, what is actually causing the shortage? On the supply side, it is mainly due to the nature of the chip making industry, the so-called POC cycles. Whereas on the demand side, it's mainly due to the recent time, the COVID-19 pandemic surge in demand and change in taste and preferences. So breaking some of the key technical points, the first being a POC cycle. In terms of definition, it is the phenomenon of cyclical fluctuations of your supply and prices, which in this case is your demand, traditionally in your livestock markets. It is also the regular swings between under and oversupply, as you can see with the pictorial on the right. The name pork cycle comes about due to the similar phenomenon as we see in the American pork market in the 1920s. The supply of chips ultimately cannot react very quickly to the changes in demand, and therefore showing this rapid signs and changes is anchored due to the fact that there are very highly technical skill set required, high amounts of fixed costs to invest, to start the foundries and to start the factories, and lastly, specific raw materials required in order to produce such microchips. Last point over here is that the industry's overall investment has not caught up with the renewed demand. More and more companies are requesting for smarter, more efficient chips, but the chip makers today are still producing so-called outdated ones that are no longer required. From here, we start to realize that as TSMC and other companies invest in new capabilities, the cyclical aspect will start to decrease, and the chip making industry can better support other industries, which we've previously mentioned are your car makers, as well as general appliances. Second point for us to break down would be the demand side. I'd like to attribute it mainly to the COVID-19 pandemic, as well as the shift towards digitalization. As economies collectively recover, consumers adapt to the lockdown measures and consume more electronics, which in this case, your chip makers face higher pressure as the gadgets today are a lot more advanced compared to 10, 20 years ago. Over here, it is mainly attributed because economies have crashed and rebounded at similar times. As we all know, the dip happened in March of 2019. And from there, many measures were kicked in place, physical policies and many different lockdown measures were set in stone, allowing economies to recover in tandem. Secondly, it would be the shift in work cultures and habits, whereby many workers and employees are adapting to the new work from home norm. This would then require purchases of new laptops, smart gadgets, your smart TVs, your smart tables, and even new cars as they commute in silo. Last point would be discretionary purchases. This is one observation that we've seen mainly because of the pent-up demand from the lockdown that everyone has been facing. From here, we start to realize also is that demand and consumer behaviors will start to ease once the new norm is adopted. Understanding these 2 points, we now move on to the outlook of the chip industry. And as mentioned previously, as chip makers invest in new capabilities to fit into this new demand, we will know that the middle-term shortage situation will start to ease because of this capability being able to fill demand. However, the last point or the key takeaway at the bottom of the article mentions that such companies must consider the potential glut, whereby utilization would decrease in the long run, and expanding too quickly might actually be a downturn and downside for these companies. And with that, thank you.